All right, Aftershocks Tremors, we're back with I think this is episode number 4. I'm not that it really matters the number. I don't know why I'm even saying that, but anyway, it's just another episode of Aftershocks Tremors.
Yeah.
Matt and Chris with you. What's up, Chris? How's it going, man?
What is up, sir? How we doing?
Doing well, doing very well. We just had actually a really cool interview,
We did.
real quick. A band called the Sonic, from Jordan, Jordan, Middle East. Man, wow, that was a really cool conversation.
Yeah, we
Uh,
didn't
we,
talk a lot of music, but wow, what a story.
I know. Well, with that kind of a story, it's like the music secondary, and like we said, they don't have a lot of music, too much music out anyway.
Right.
So I thought it was a good thing we just kind of talked about just the whole situation about a metal band from the Middle East. That's always a good conversation with
Sure.
anybody who's been in one of those. So, and you don't get to, I mean, you hear about them. I hear, sometimes on websites and news sites, I see a band from Israel or Iran that's metal, but they're gone as soon as as
Mhm.
quick as you're hearing them, they're gone the next day.
Yeah,
So, yeah, that was a cool interview we just did. Yeah,
it was. So people should definitely check that one out. Even if you're not gonna like the band necessarily, the story behind how dangerous it was to put
yeah.
metal out and stuff. That alone is worth it, even if you never listen to the band. It's quite the story. So make sure you check that one out whenever. I don't know when it's going to be released because it seems like we have a zillion of them ready to release.
Sure.
So, but
Yeah.
when that one comes out, you want to check it out. The band's called Esodic, Esodic, and look them up on YouTube or wherever and give them a play. Help them out.
Absolutely, thrash band, and yeah, no, and like you said, a lot of times if you see that there's an interview with a band that you don't know, yeah, you're gonna skip over it. But yeah, this one I would definitely suggest to listen
Mhm.
to. It's definitely more than just talking about songwriting process and blah
Yeah,
blah blah. Ain't all about that. It's about really some really cool discussions about a metal band in Jordan, which is
right.
that's the Middle East. So
About a
um,
real struggle to make music, not some bullshit.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, what a week it's been, man. I know, one of the things I wanted to bring up on this one was just to pay our respects to the late great Malcolm Dome, and obviously
Yeah.
anybody who doesn't know who Malcolm Dome is, if you've ever seen a metal documentary, you know who Malcolm Dome is. I mean,
Right.
he is on pretty much every documentary you'll find out there.
Mhm.
He's obviously the British guy who's got the bald head. He's real charismatic guy, real knowledgeable. I mean, the guy's just a
Yeah.
chock full of knowledge
Mhm.
of hard rock and metal. Yeah, so he just recently passed away. I mean, just the enthusiasm that guy had. I know Bob, I believe did a few Skull Sessions some time ago with him when Skull Sessions originally started back,
Sure.
I think in the late 2000s. But yeah,
Well, and Malcolm's been in several of Bob's movies.
yeah, that's right. Absolutely, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, how can I forget about that? Absolutely, he was in Inside Metal. He was in, I think, Band vs. Brand, right? Correct. So
Mhm.
yeah, he's been in all those. You're right. So yeah, and one of the things about Malcolm is that you could tell this when you think about journalists, okay,
Mhm.
respected journalists, okay, all you've got to do to know if this guy was respected or not is just go out there and look at how many of these big name musicians coming from all the Black Sabbath guys
Zap.
to Zepp. I mean, everybody that's been in the hard rock and metal world prominent, meaning big name bands,
Mhm.
not just
Ozzy. Yeah,
yeah.
Ozzy, all the huge names
Mhm.
paid their respect to this guy. And
Yep.
believe me, I've done a million interviews. I don't expect any of these guys to be saying, "Oh, Chris Aiken, he was such a great guy." I don't even expect them to notice my blip on the map. But Malcolm seemed like he influenced everybody with his
Yeah.
journalism.
He really did, and supposedly I didn't know this. I just found this out when I was kind of reading through some of his, his history and some of his background. He supposedly, allegedly, he coined the term thrash metal in
Hmm.
an article he did for Anthrax's Fistful of Metal back in the '80s. So there you go. Thrash metal was created. The name thrash. I didn't realize that
Yeah,
was coined by Malcolm Dome. Did you
yeah.
know that?
I did know that actually.
Okay.
I had heard that before. Yeah, I mean, this guy was a different breed
Mhm.
of metal journalist. He was the breed that has gone away now,
Oh
where
yeah.
where so many journalists today, and I use the term journalist very fucking loosely,
Yes.
but
Very.
but the journalists of today all seem to want to make the story themselves.
Oh
They
yeah.
don't, they don't want it to be, here's a band, here's their music, go. It
Mhm.
always is, well, we asked the question that got us on Blabbermouth, or we did this that got us on Brave Words. They want to
Mhm.
be the story. Guy like Malcolm, his goal was to promote the bands.
Absolutely.
And his knowledge was ridiculous. I mean, there's a few guys that are out there with that same kind of, like Martin Popoff's another guy that has
Mhm.
that kind of
Sure.
just absolute encyclopedia like knowledge. But Malcolm was like, for metal, Malcolm was the original guy. And there's a reason he's in every one of these documentaries, because
Mhm.
people know that he'll get into these movies and he will absolutely represent well. It's
Absolutely.
doesn't matter what the topic is. Megadeth. Well, here's a story about when I
Mhm.
saw him at Ruthie's Inn as a 3-piece when they blah blah blah. I mean, and he will have seen it. And I was who was I talking? I was talking to somebody this week, and they were telling me about they went to first time they as a band went to England. Why can't I think of who it was? But anyway, they were saying first time they went to England, first guy that they met up with was Malcolm Dome.
Wow.
Who show it was, who it was? It was Eric Braverman, who was being tour manager for Flotsam and Jetsam
Mm.
on Doomsday.
Okay.
And they went to England that first time, and first guy to meet him at the club was Malcolm Dome,
Malcolm
because
Dome.
Malcolm was down with that record and he wanted to get deeper with the band. He wanted to do an interview for whatever publication he was writing for at the time. So,
Mhm.
it's just this guy was a different cut of journalist. He was like the old school cut back when it was more of an art than it is now with, oh, I have a microphone, I must be important.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, no, exactly. He's a guy I know he started pretty much with the new wave of British heavy metal scene. That was his main, he I think he started doing journalism around the late 70s, like 79-ish. But the cool thing about Malcolm was he always stayed current. He
Mhm.
didn't just say, "Okay, yeah, this is my holy, I love new wave of British heavy metal. This is my wheelhouse," and that's it. No, he was all involved with the thrash. He was just a very all-encompassing metal journalist who understood the different subgenres and
Mhm.
everything. He was even supporting of bands like the Motley Crue's, Rats, and Bon Jovi's.
Sure.
When they were, in the '80s, there. He wasn't the type of guy that just poo-pooed them. He actually, he was. I'm not trying to put us into it, but we're like guys like that too. We like everything. So
Sure.
Malcolm was just that kind of guy too. He was Orange Goblin. Was another band that just came out and
Yeah.
posted something about him. He was supposedly Malcolm Dome was a major reason why that band took off as well. He loved them. He'd support them. Like you said, he was just a different breed that we just don't see anymore. And like you said, I think the main publication I know he worked for, where he got really his name out there, and it became pretty synonymous with all things heavy metal, was Kerrang.
Yeah, sure.
Kerrang, which I always thought, I don't know about you, but Kerrang, when I didn't even know about Kerrang until the '90s. I remember just discovering
Yeah,
it one
same here.
time. Okay, yeah. So in Tower Records one time I seen it, and I'm like, oh, what's this? And that to me was the best magazine because it didn't just have a specific type of metal. It really had everything in there. It almost basically signifies what Malcolm was about. I don't think he was an editor or anything, but he was one of the major journalists and
Sure.
writers for the magazine. And when so to me, Kerrang, like I said, obviously everyone knows Kerrang if you know metal. Even if you're not from the UK, like I said, eventually in the '90s that did come over here, and we were able to see it. But speaking of Kerrang, I just want to, because you brought up something before about talking about modern day journalism.
Mhm.
So after I was doing some stuff, reading up on Malcolm and his background and all the stuff he's accomplished as a journalist, I happened to stumble across a Kerrang article. And this is today's Kerrang. Okay,
Okay.
the title, and this title just sums up where to me music journalism is now and is going, and obviously how different it was from its origination back in this I guess the '70s or even probably late '60s when they had Cream and all that. I don't know when all those magazines started, but
Mhm.
here's the headline here. The title of the article is "Why Every Metal and Hardcore Fan Should Consider Going Vegan." Okay,
Oh.
this is today's Kerrang. Now this is an interesting thing. So it featured in this article, okay, it was taking place in a vegan restaurant in New York City that's owned by Sergio Vega, who's the bassist for the Deftones, and he was more well known too for the band Quicksand in the '90s. Okay,
Okay.
so it was Sergio in the article was Sergio Vega. So it was him. It was John Joseph from the Cro-Mags, ex-Cro-Mags, Doyle from the Misfits, and Alyssa White from Arch Enemy. Okay,
Okay.
So they were all sitting around. They were having dinner. Okay. And I believe the article itself, I'm going to imagine just from reading the article. Okay. And I encourage anybody to go look it up. Why every metal and hardcore fan should consider going vegan. I believe it was just to promote the restaurant and to do a quick write up on it or something. Okay. Because
Okay.
I do know like a guy like John Joseph. I mean, he's been on Joe Rogan and he's talked about, even though he's a big time vegan and he's been that for years. I mean, going back to the 80s, he doesn't like, a lot of the modern day, elitist type of, those vegans that want to shove it down everyone's throat.
Right.
So he's all very not for that. I know he is. Like I said, I've heard him a million times. But yeah, they got Doyle, like I said, Sergio and Alyssa. So throughout the whole article, there is the only quotes they have from either four of them. I know the worst one was Alyssa's. Her whole thing was the most rebellious thing you can do is going vegan. Well, that's kind of interesting when it's coming from a person herself who grew up in a vegetarian household. So I don't know how that's rebellious if that's all you know. Okay. But regardless of that, and regardless if you're vegan or not, it has nothing to do with it. But the article itself, the only quotes they get from any of the guys is just how they became vegan. Okay. The rest of the article is pretty much just this person writing it. Like I said, it's an activist article. It's a complete activism article. It's about not about why they became vegans. It's about why you should become a vegan. So this is our modern day journalism, and not one thing in the article even referenced anything to do with music. Nothing. It was all about just explaining how they're vegan and how you should be too. And that to me is just the total synopsis and just, of what today's music journalism is about. Like you said, it's all about how important I am. Nothing about the people you're writing about or the actual, information that they're giving you. Yeah. I mean, there's no quotes in the thing from any of these guys except for those just that how they got into becoming a vegan. But anyway, it's
nothing about the music. It's
nothing.
Not a word about the fact that Arch Enemy has a new record coming. Not one word about that. And as far as Alyssa is concerned, if she wants to do something rebellious, do a show or two naked, because that's about the rebellious thing I want to hear or see from her. She's definitely hot, but shut your fucking hole. Honestly. But you're right, dude. As far as journalism goes, music journalism as a whole now is like the rest of the world. It's all become activist bullshit. It's like today I was scanning through. I get this Google feed on my phone that just feeds news, and I have it pretty well curated, so I don't get any politics or anything into my news, because I just don't want to read it. I want to read about a couple of things that I'm interested in. I like wrestling, so I like to get the wrestling articles. I love music, so I like to see the music stuff, and maybe some sports here and there, little sports stuff here and there, and that's it. That's all I get in my news feed. So one of the articles I get that I guess slipped through, I guess because it's under the guise of music, and this relates to the music journalism, is a Rolling Stone article. So, right there, that means it's bad.
That's bad.
But it says the title was something to the effect of why all classic rock songs should be taken down like Confederate statues.
Oh my God.
And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And they were going after like Don McLean, American Pie, and stuff like this. And I was just like, shut up.
Shut up, man.
Just shut up.
Well, right there. The article started with the word why.
Yeah.
Okay. You shouldn't be starting an article. If you're a legit journalist, when you say why this should, right there, you lost my interest, because you're not, that's not journalism. To me, it really begs the question too. It's propaganda. It's just an opinionated thing. And it begs the question, where is music journalism today? I would say, in my opinion, that journalism in general, it's just, it's essentially not existent anymore. You know what I mean?
I mean, and not to turn this all political, but it's just trickled all the way down. It started with Hollywood spitting their fucking opinions about everything, moved to TV. Now you can't watch a TV show without a cause in it.
Yep.
Then it moved to, it moved into the mainstream media during the election, like the Obama stuff, in the second term, especially of Obama, and then into Trump. And it's trickling down now into music and into everything else. It's horrendous, man. It's terrible.
I mean, because like I said, another question: where would you go today to get some honest, subjective analysis of whether it's a scene, an album, a show. You know, even when they write about shows now, they're not talking about specifically song and this guy, yeah, the singer. I mean, he just was doing whatever with on the stage, his stage presence. It has nothing to do with that. They're talking about the crowd and what
Mhm.
people were wearing. The fashion show part of everything.
Yeah,
I mean,
or that
it
they
just
weren't wearing their masks when they were
well,
supposed to.
exactly. Yeah, oh yeah, of course. You know that's a big one. And then
Yep.
that's of course, and then of course that's aimed so that the band has to respond and explain
Yeah.
why they didn't say anything when they were on stage about
Mhm.
people not wearing masks and keeping the safe space 6 feet apart, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It just really is. It's one thing. Like you said, there's journalism, obviously, and politics and everything else. Okay, that as we know has gone to shit. But who cares about that, right? Because we don't give a shit about politics. But when it comes to music and metal, I mean, it's like where could you go? Because, like you said, Rolling Stone, it's been Rolling Stone's been that way for a long time. But
Mhm.
now they're just so open about it and out of the closet. They don't care about hiding it anymore. But they're all political. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot. Like I said, periodicals aren't really around anymore. Obviously, no one likes to read much anymore. So really, the new journalism is sort of what we're kind of doing with podcasts and everything.
Yeah.
And at least with us, I mean, at least just like a podcast like us and other podcasts out there focusing on music. That to me is the only place you can go to today where you can get away from it. You can get away from the politics and all the why you should be this and why you shouldn't do this. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's like I said, where is I can't name you one place I can go. I mean, even we obviously get mentioned on these websites and everything, the blabbermouths and
Yeah.
everything, but there too, everything is politically angled.
Oh,
And these articles, what do they do at the end of the article? Talking about, well, the CDC said, it's like I came to read about a band, to read about if the album was good or not, to read about if they're going on tour or not, how the new band members are. I could give two shits about what the CDC says about anything to do with music.
yeah.
You
Well,
know?
the unfortunate thing though is in the social media world, everybody
Yeah.
wants their opinion, and those are the clicker ones. Those are the clickbait. They
Hmm.
work.
They do.
Having a dummy like Sebastian Bach talking his feelings on vaccinations and whatnot. Then you get 500 people that comment on it. And
Yep.
that means that you get 500 clicks, which means that, Bori over at Blabbermouth is getting, $10 or $15 for that one article.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's how it works. I mean, it's not.
It does. I know.
I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. We're we're the stupid that are guiding the stupid.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I
I
mean that's
agree.
the dumber your audience, the more money you make. That's just the fact of the matter.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
gone are the days where if you didn't like something, you didn't talk about it, listen to it. Now if you don't like it, then that's like a cause to have an opinion that you
Yeah.
need to have vocalized consistently.
Hmm.
Dude, I know back in the early days of like music, of metal in my life, not the early days of music, but the early days of music in my life, I didn't like some of the metal that was coming out. Like I wasn't a big Trickster fan. I wasn't a big I don't know, bands like that,
Hmm. Danger,
Danger,
danger.
Danger,
Yeah.
or
There you
whatever,
go. Yeah.
Tora. I wasn't a big fan of any of that stuff. And you know what I did? I didn't talk about it. I didn't
Exactly.
buy it. I didn't talk about it. And I didn't really talk about how much I hated it. It just didn't exist to me.
Hmm.
It stayed out. Now, if a band comes up today, if somebody doesn't like Dirty Honey, just throwing a name out there, but if they don't
Hmm.
like Dirty Honey, they're on their fucking Facebook page or their Twitter or whatever. Dirty Honey or fags. Dirty Honey sucks. Dirty
Hmm.
Honey's untalented. You know who gets a lot of that? Wolfgang Van Halen. Wolfgang Van
Sure.
Halen gets so much hate. And nobody even, dude, and it's funny if you even read it, because if you read, I do read some of it because he's pretty funny the way he fights back.
Sure. Yeah. He is.
Nobody says anything bad about his music. They all just say he's a fat guy.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's like the only thing that people have is the
Oh,
guy.
and he's not like his dad. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guess what? No one's going to be like his dad.
Exactly.
He's not trying to be a clone of his dad.
Mhm.
Obviously, he's making modern rock instead of classic heavy metal.
Mhm.
So he's not trying to even be his dad. First of all, his dad didn't sing, for God's sakes.
Well, that too, exactly.
He's
Yeah,
a
I know.
singer, but nobody cares about any of that. If you pull up any Wolfgang Van Halen thing on Blabbermouth, any story that comes out about him, 9 of every 10 comments are, "This guy's a fat piece of shit. He looks like he ate Vince Neil, and Vince Neil looks like he ate Vince Neil." You get that kind of bullshit nonstop. And then 1 out of every 25 things will say, "Saw him with Guns N' Roses. He kicked ass."
Yeah.
There's no music thought from the fans anymore. It's all, how can I bash every fucking thing?
Well, you're right. And that's social media, because when you comment, how many times do you see comments that are positive? I mean, you do, obviously, if you've got, obviously, if you on your page, if you're releasing something new and you put out a new video, say, and you got it premiering on, it's on Facebook or it's on, whatever it is on YouTube. Of course, there's a lot of your fans that go, "Oh, great, I can't wait to check it out." But for some reason, it seems to me that at least when I've seen these comments, you're gonna have more bad than good. It's just
always.
It's like in general, like an app like Yelp, right?
Mhm.
It's funny. I think I always say about Yelp, it's who's really gonna go out of their way to usually go, you know what? That was such a great experience. I'm going to go ahead and put a nice comment on Yelp. No, you go on there because you're fucking pissed off going,
Yeah, of course.
I got to do something here. And that's sort of like what social media has become. Obviously, you're not going on there to support or great job. Because what happens when you do that stuff, I think a lot of times people expect, well, he didn't like he didn't like it. He didn't put a like on it. He didn't respond to me. Well, screw him now, and it's also, it's sort of like this double-edged sword where, you try to put something out there for people, so hopefully they like it and they can comment, and whether they like it, good or bad, give their feedback.
Yeah.
Yet in the end, if you don't now respond, not a lot of that's also the artist's fault. But if you don't respond to them in a way, they almost feel like, and if you, God forbid, you respond to, say, 2 other people when you first posted it, but you don't tell anyone after that, then everyone gets mad because you're not giving them attention.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things too, with musicians. This whole thing when social media came out, one of the things I used to always hear is, well, this is great. It gives me now this platform where I can really stay in touch with my fans, because before I could just do interviews on magazines and, and all articles and just stuff like that. But I really had no way of connecting with my fans. Well, now that you're connecting with your fans, do you really want to connect with your fans? Because
exactly.
I don't think you do.
Like half of them, because you don't like half of them.
Exactly.
Dude, it is insanity the way social media to me just keeps growing and getting uglier and uglier.
Oh,
it's like, have you seen on Facebook? I think it's on Facebook. This new trend. I see these posts all the time, so it might just be my feed, something that's in my feed that I just keep seeing over and over.
Mm-hmm.
But the post is, mention somebody famous that does something and see if they respond.
Yeah, I've been seeing that all over the place.
It's like,
oh God,
mention a drummer that's famous and see if he responds. And I'm just like, how much more desperate for attention can we possibly fucking get to where it's got to where now, these band guys, I mean, honestly, do you really think Carmen Apiece is going to fucking take the time out to say, "Hey, Bill in Houston, thanks for mentioning me on Facebook."
Exactly.
Or, "Hey, Sebastian Bach, mention me." And then Sebastian's going to go, "Thumbs up, mother trucker. Get the fuck out of here."
Exactly. I know.
It's like, why are fans? I blame fans, to swing it back to this conversation about journalists. I'm going to blame the fans. 100% I'll blame the fans, because they act like this. They act like this. They think their opinion matters. And when they don't get their way, they go online, like whether it's on Blabbermouth or if they don't like a restaurant, they go online to Yelp. It's all this self-grandizing, selfish need for pay attention to me shit. It's like every single person that wasn't the biggest name jock in their high school now has a forum where they think they're the biggest name jock in their high school.
Yeah.
It's fucking pathetic.
It is. I mean, see, I don't really blame it on the fans, because to me, I expect the fans to be just that, a fan, a fanatical, right? And that's what it stands for. And that's what a lot of them are. Some of them, there was the thing about social media. There was always this. The one thing I liked before social media was I enjoyed the mystique of a musician.
Yeah.
That I couldn't. The only way I was ever going to maybe meet them or see them was if I happened to get backstage, or I was just out and about and I saw them in a restaurant or a bar, and I was like, "Hey, what's up, man? Nice to and say something nice to them and just tell them I like their music." I mean, I liked that. I don't need, I think at first the concept of social media and artists having a platform so that they can connect with their fans. It sounds great, right? On paper, it sounds fantastic. Wow, everyone wins, everyone, big happy family, everyone. That's that. I don't think a lot of these musicians realize that. No, you're gonna have people who don't like you. Now you're giving them a platform to like your thing and comment and set shit off. And then what do? Then those guys go on. They put all the negative shit. You've got your real fans that like you, that are backing you up. Now you're just starting this sort of back and forth with these people. That's just this just complete nonsense.
Yeah.
So I miss the days where I couldn't see my favorite musician, because the other thing too is a lot of them, not for nothing. Just talking about a Sebastian Bach, a perfect example. All these guys are fucking douchebags. You know what I mean?
Dude,
I mean, a lot of these artists I've loved growing up, I realized this guy's he's a clown.
Dude, Sebastian is probably the best example of it, because I'm a total worshiper of the Skid Row that he did. And I'll be honest, I'm a pretty big worshiper of the solo stuff that he's done too. I love records like Angel Down and the other, I think, two that he's done. I'm a fan. I was a huge fan. But I see this guy on his fucking Twitter saying, well, if you don't do this, then fuck you and don't be part of my audience and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you know what, dude? Fine. That's great. And to be honest, I don't like that the mystique is gone. And now I just see you randomly saying, well, I get fucked up and I drink too much wine and then I shit post everybody and then I take it down the next day. It's like, okay, dude, well then I'm not going to give you $40 for your goddamn concert when basically you're a drunken idiot that had a fucking 3 or 4 songs that were great back 30 years ago. Yeah. Fuck you. You're not worth $40 anymore. And you did that to yourself, not me.
Yeah.
If you would just shut the fuck up and sing your goddamn songs, and I'd still be throwing the $40 every time you toured.
Exactly. Yeah. But they don't. And that's the problem, And a lot of them, like the Sebastian Bach. Well, why do they always say stupid shit now? Well, it keeps them on the blabbermouths in the news. And then they're relevant somehow. Even if, I'm not really a big fan of the solo stuff, but I know a lot of people like yourself are, and that's fine. Once again, it's subjective.
Yeah.
But once again, you're now giving a guy like Sebastian Bach, who, in my opinion, just in my opinion, hasn't really put out a good song since he was with Skid Row. A good song in terms of, a hit song or a massive song that people are going to hear. But now, it's funny because when you go on to Blabbermouth and you see Sebastian Bach and you see, I could go through so many of these guys just because they're able to stay in the news. That's what keeps them relevant, not their music. What keeps them relevant is they go into social media, they go back and forth. I'll use another guy who we like and we interviewed. He was a great guy. Is it Michael Sweet?
Yeah.
Think about his band. They haven't been relevant in years.
Yeah.
But he's another guy who's in every, week. You definitely have a Blabbermouth article on Michael Sweet, because he's coming from, and like I said, I agree with a lot of stuff he says, Michael. But once again, it's not music based. We're not talking about Michael Sweet. Oh, he's got this great new song with Striper. No. It has to do with, he said this about, who was he? Cardi B's, song. He was talking about his grandkids. And this is what makes now Michael Sweet a guy who everyone wants to interview, not because of his music, because he doesn't like something that they could kind of use to sort of, once again, create the clickbait and just let the social media crowd go nuts.
Well, dude, how many years, probably decades. I think I'm going to speak for both of us. Tell me if I'm wrong. For decades, Testament could do no wrong for either one of us.
Sure.
Do no wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And now fucking Alex Skolnick went running his fucking
mouth.
Yeah. Makes me really question if I want to support Testament.
Mm-hmm.
And I love their music. They are top 5 band of all time in my collection.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even a Trump guy. To be clear, I've said this a million times on the CMS. I'm not a Trump guy. I think every politician's a piece of shit. every last fucking one of them.
Mhm.
But this guy with his endless Trump this and Trump that, and if you don't like what I like, then you're a piece of shit. What? Fuck you.
Mhm.
Just because you can play a guitar does not make you knowledgeable of a motherfucking thing.
Sure.
So play your guitar, because that's the only reason any of us know or care about you.
Yep.
None
Yeah.
of us care about your political views. None of us need it. All we want to do is hear you riffing on Practice What You Preach,
Exactly.
or
Mhm.
Low, or Hail Mary, or that's what we're into with you.
Mhm.
And it bugs me to no end that the other guys in his band haven't told him to shut the
Shut
fuck
the
up.
fuck up. Exactly.
You
I
know?
mean, yeah. I mean, it's the one thing that bugs me more than anything is when I hear, and this is obviously this is a lot with musicians, but just really with celebrities in general, or anyone, even low level musicians who maybe have a little bit of a, an underground and cult following.
Mm-hmm.
Their whole thing is, well, no, I'm going to use I'm using my platform for the better good. No, no, listen, your platform is to entertain, to
Yeah.
sing. You
Mm-hmm.
know, people go to pay for your music, and you should. They don't. If you want to be a spoken word guy, if you then go ahead. I mean, go ahead
Yeah.
and do that. Like I said, I have no problem with people if they're like, you know what, I'm really passionate about this political thing. Whatever side they're on.
Mm-hmm.
This goes for, like I said, both sides. You got the Aaron Lewis's too, who won't shut the fuck up,
Yeah.
and those guys
Not a
too.
guy. Not a
Same
guy.
thing. Then go out there and do a spoken word thing, or do just do something else. I mean, you can still play your music. I'm not saying don't do that,
Yeah.
but take that somewhere else, because if that's what people want, they want. I mean, nothing even irks me more too. Like I always said about with politics or just anything in general with music. Okay, bands like I say, Rage Against the Machine. Hey, doesn't matter whether you agree with them politically or not. They've always been a political band. So
Sure.
to me, that is completely fine. If you start out being a band that represents something specific, no matter
Mm-hmm.
what it is, and that's what you wrote about, even like for instance, like back at the Earth Crisis, right? They were all the vegans, vegetarian.
Sure.
They were all about that stuff. Okay,
Mhm.
a lot of those hardcore bands or the straight edge hardcore bands over the years. Yeah, I'm totally fine. Go out and sing about that. If that's your thing since day one, then
Yeah.
that's what it is. But if you're a band who's been around a while and you just decide, well, with this political climate going on, we're going to start writing some songs about Biden or Trump or whoever.
Yeah.
You know what? You're just. I mean, once again, it's now I see. You can see the narcissism basically in all these musicians. You
Mm-hmm.
see how it's all about them, how important they think they are, especially when it has nothing to do with music.
Right.
And we're going to these other things. It's like, look, once again, we're here to listen to your music. Like I said, at least the thing that bugs me is there are a lot of people out there that go, yeah, I don't like what he's doing that, but I'm still going to go see him. I'm still going to pay for my. Fuck that. I will not see anybody who comes out like that, especially if they haven't been like that, their whole musical career. And they just decide now they want to be a political pundit,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right, dude. I mean, one of the best things that I've done in the past probably 2 years was I dumped Twitter.
Yeah.
I
I've always thought it was a
I
cesspool
I
thing, man.
I
Yeah.
got rid of it because,
Mm.
and I'll be honest, I never was a big Twitter guy. I never was the guy that was posting 14 times a day like some people. I would post like, hey, I'm listening to this. Really, everything that I post, even now on fucking Facebook, is literally, hey, listen to this cool song. This is cool. Or boy, I don't like this song. It's basically music and television, basically, is
Yeah.
the only things that I put on Facebook. I don't talk politics. I don't talk, my kids or nothing. I just talk about tunes or TV. Um, but Twitter, only reason I really had a Twitter was because all my favorite bands were on Twitter.
Mm.
So I was like, you know what? I can catch up. And at first, when Twitter first came out, there were a lot of bands that were like, hey, here's an early demo of something we're working on the new record. You remember those days?
Oh yeah. Mm.
When bands would throw out like a minute of a song.
This is
And
great. Yeah.
so I thought, this is fantastic. I can keep up with my bands, and obviously doing the CMS. If they threw out something cool, if it was like Anthrax or something, I'd grab it and then I'd bring it to the CMS and we would talk about it.
Mm.
And it led to good conversation and good pieces. But near the end, 2 years ago, everything was just bullshit. It was Sebastian Bach. It was um, Aaron Lewis, Ted Nugent. It was so much of that kind of shit. So little about music. And I was getting to the point that a lot of the bands that I loved as a kid, I couldn't listen to anymore.
Sure.
And now that I've cut them all off, now I can at least listen to their tunes. Like LA Guns, perfect example. Those two guys,
Oh God, yeah.
those two, Phil and Tracy, must love the taste of Biden's jizz, because they certainly fucking sing, or they talk about it constantly.
Constantly,
Constantly talking about Biden, and it's like, dude, I don't care. I want, what I want to hear about? The follow up to the Ballad of Jane.
Exactly.
That's what I want to hear about. I want to hear about, how the new record compares to Cocked and Loaded. I really don't give a shit what some fucking lower tier band that has to tour 200 gigs a year and has to put out a record every year, or else you can't make a living. I really don't give a shit about your politics, because you haven't elevated yourself to a level to where I should pay attention to your politics. You're a fucking third tier band playing bars, so shut up and play them, and I'll come out and see it sometimes. It's ridiculous.
Well, I think it just shows, with these musicians, like you said, like a Tracy Guns, let your music speak for itself, man.
Yeah.
If you've got to go out there and hoot and holler like Sebastian Bach and everyone, to me, it just shows you, okay, you're not putting anything of substance out there. There's no good music out there. You're not, obviously. I mean, I know right now, obviously, and we're getting this like tenfold now because no one's touring. I mean, I can't wait for some of these guys just to go on tour so they can just shut up for once for all. But and that begs the question too, where with social media, what I miss, okay, and I guess it kind of goes along with the journalism thing here. I really miss the website. I loved when everyone had a website. Not you go on social media, you just go down your feed, and that's where you find everything out. I mean, that's cool to do if you've got 10 minutes. You just want to get some quick, updates on what's going on and stuff. I mean, I missed the website. I missed, when, shit, even in Blabbermouth. God, when Blabbermouth started out, it was awesome. I mean, they had everything about. I used to even get my bands on there, and my press releases always on Blabbermouth. When I did my label, they were such a great the PRP. I remember those ones in the early '90s, the late '90s. There, they were great.
Sure.
And I just miss going to websites. I think once social media came, it got rid of the website. Bands now, it's funny, you type in their name, www.laguns.com, where does it take you to? Their Facebook page.
Yeah.
It's not a fucking website. At least a website, you could show videos. You could just get lost in the band on a website.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of guys that still like the website. But yes, I understand everything's got to be, it's like I said, everyone wants to just do it quickly on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Nobody wants to take the time to update their website and put some really cool shit out there. It's the other thing with musicians. They're getting people to come back to them and their pages and getting to like their music because based off their opinions on shit that has nothing to do with music.
Yeah.
They're becoming more of these personalities than musicians.
Yeah.
And that people are getting behind when they're battling them out. When there's a whole political battle going out between Chris Jericho and Sebastian Bach or whoever, you know what I mean? It's just,
right.
And I don't want to sound like some, one of those old guys, the way it used to be. No, because me, guys like me and you, we like the way modern shit is, you know what I mean? We embrace it. Yeah, we embrace it, but I just think there's just no, I think once MySpace was gone, that was, we talk about this all the time. We always talk about how MySpace was just fantastic for music.
Yeah.
They basically everybody a free web page where you go on, you can hear songs right there. You can look at pictures and photos and tour dates. It was just great. It's just one big, shot of it. And I guess Bandcamp does something close to that. It's not the same. It's similar a little bit, but I thought MySpace was great for that. But once Facebook became the place where it was like, well, there's no more MySpace. We got to put everything on Facebook. I just thought stuff just went to pure shit after that. Yeah. In terms of journalism, in terms of how you get your music news and your updates, just pure shit after that.
Yeah, well, and again, it goes to what we were saying at the beginning about the trickle down. Why did all that shit grow? Because the media embraced it. The media, dude, 10 years ago, if you saw a story about, I don't know, Metallica on like Entertainment Tonight or something, You know, not that either of us is watching Entertainment Tonight, but if you caught something like that, or the Tonight Show or something like that, they would say something like, hey, if you want to catch more of Metallica, go to Metallica.com, and you know, you can get all your information at Metallica.com. No, they don't do that anymore. Now, when they start showing Metallica, they got a ticker at the bottom that flashes across for 2 seconds that says at Metallica. You know,
yeah,
Twitter,
exactly.
at Metallica, Facebook. It's all quick hitter bullshit, you know, promote the socials. And it's like, and I think for fans, again, it goes back to the fans couldn't say this blows dick on a
webpage. Yeah, exactly.
They just, it was what it was a promotional tool. Now it's not Facebook, Twitter, whatever, Minds Gab, it doesn't matter which one you choose. It's not a promotional tool anymore. It's an interactive tool.
Yeah.
And the truth is those that complain have the loudest voice generally, which makes everybody think that everything is shit.
Yeah. No, you're right. And that's a good point about being it's not a promotional tool. You said it's interactive. Because now where are the promotional tools? You know what I mean?
There aren't any.
There aren't any. Exactly. There's none. It's just put a little blip up on social media. Yeah, go to YouTube, check that out. Put some shitty comments on there if you want. I mean, there, and that's the thing. Even the interactive tool, there's no positive interaction.
No.
You know, it's all shit slinging and negativity. There's no, you know, I mean, how rare do you ever see anybody having like 5 guys or 5, you know, guys or girls, whatever, on a posting on someone's, you know, on comments under some post? Are they ever kind of going, oh, yeah, I agree with you, man. Yeah, they were great here. Oh, no, I saw them here, too. Oh, did you see them here? No,
that's done.
That's nothing. You know what I mean? There's chat room. I know chat rooms used to have that stuff. I mean, you know, that's old
the only place that does have that is the band specific fan groups, and those are to such a ridiculous level that it makes you sick to read them. You know, it's that obviously with what we do with the interviews, I'm attached to like 10,000 groups, and a lot of times, you know, I'll throw like when we interviewed KK Downing as an example. One of the groups that I'm in is the Judas Priest fan group, and I am going to throw them under the bus, but I'm not specifically targeting them. They're one of every group that's like this. When you go into this thing, it's Judas Priest has never done anything wrong ever. Yeah. This album's better than that one. It's a nut lapping fest of Judas Priest, and then everything is like, well, now KK's not in Judas Priest. KK Downing sucks, man. He's a fucking terrible player. He was never good in the band. You know, it's nonstop. It's so, again, it's unnecessary. It's just worthless. It's everybody with their goddamn opinions. You know when it was best that we had opinions? When we were at the bar.
Yes.
When we were at the bar arguing about Judas Priest. Was Nostradamus better than Turbo? Was British Steel better than Point of Entry? You know, where does Painkiller? Is it their best record? Is it not? Is Screaming for Vengeance better? You know, that was fun shit. Got to the bar, you have a couple drinks, you're yelling and screaming at the bar with your buddy. You walk out feeling pretty good. And then if you got the Judas Priest CD in your car to go home after you've had this argument, man, that's the end of a perfect night, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's a good point too, because, you know, on think about it, if you're at a bar and you start, you know, having a conversation about a band or a record or whatever it may be, you're not going to sit there if someone disagrees with you, and you're not going to go, well, fuck you, man. Because if you did, you get a fucking fist right across your face.
Exactly.
And you know, and of course, you know, I mean, that's not going to happen. But of course, you see that left and right on social media. He sucks. Oh, no, he doesn't. Fuck you. Yeah, you know, you're not going to see that in real life. You sit at a bar if someone just told you, you know, this guy sucks. You know, once again, it's just, I just think, you know, and I really do think that musicians, in a way, I do say, I know you said you blame fans. I don't blame, because fans are idiots. You know what I mean? They're idiots. Like you said, you've got the fans that think, you know, Metallica and Judas Priest can't put out one bad song. Every song is phenomenal. You know, so you got that faction. You got the realistic ones like ourselves that might be like, come on, man, that one sucks. my thing is the fans are fans. They're there, they're paying the money. I think it's up to the management. I think it's up to the musicians themselves. They got to just stop doing so much on it. They got to stop opining themselves on a lot of this stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
some of the guys I've seen on there, like I'll use say Dino from Fear Factory.
Mm-hmm.
Way too much he's on that shit. I mean,
Sure.
in terms of replying to almost everybody. If anybody has a negative comment, he has to come back. Not that he goes at them, but he spits some logic, or he spits some facts at them. Man, who cares, dude? Like just let it go. Let them deal their shit. That's better than if you correct somebody, they might be like, fuck you, and I'm not going to buy your record now. You know what I mean? It's like nobody wants a negative interaction or comment from their favorite artists or one of the artists they love on social media, especially if they have some sort of interaction. They want it to be, well, you agree with me, right? And if Dino says no, well, then fuck you. Maybe I don't like Dino now anymore. I mean, I just think it's stupid for musicians.
Oh, it is.
To,
and
to look at it that way.
Dino is especially crazy with his social media.
Oh,
dude,
God.
I'm starting to believe he plays his guitar with his phone because he fucking never seems to have it. He never seems to put it down. He's on. Would it shock you? And be honest, would it shock you if he has his phone sitting on an amp on Facebook when he's playing like a Soulfly gig or whatever? And like in between gigs, if he walks over and checks, would that, that wouldn't shock me at all. If when Max is doing a little rant to the crowd, if he's over there checking his phone and fucking firing off an answer, because he's always on his phone.
Always on it. Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. And that's the other thing too. I just think a lot, like I said, by these guys just constantly being on there and posting, it's going to get people like sick of them. It's going to be like, I don't know if I like this guy. Like I said, we love Dino. We love Fear Factory. We love him. We've interviewed him, and he's a good dude. I met him in person. He's a real nice guy. Absolutely. But I think he's a guy right now too. And I'm not trying to pick on Dino or nothing, but this is a guy now who's going through a transition period with the band.
Yeah.
And I think Burton being gone, I'm just looking at, like I said, me, I'm enormous. They're arguably my favorite band of all time. But this guy is getting quite annoying on there, man, because once Burt was gone, I think he just thought, well, this is my band now. And then now he's propping himself up to be something he's not. Right. You know what I mean? And when I see I get, you have to definitely self-promote yourself. I mean, there's no doubt. But you've got to be real, I think, meticulous on how you do it. And you have to have a structure in the way you do it. You don't just go on there like me or you would and just, or if you're some small little band and just sort of, go crazy like you would if you're just some regular guy, man. You got a big fan base and you're going to turn a lot of people off. I think with some of the, comments you make or some of the, the posts you make. I mean, he's posting with like every, good looking metal chick there is. It's like, what are you trying to say? I mean, that stuff looks like, to me, I look at it as like, this is kind of pathetic, to be honest with you.
I agree.
Yeah.
Dude, the one thing before social media that bands and management and everybody understood was the worst thing that you could be as an artist was overexposed.
Yeah.
That was the worst thing you could be. Now, there's never a moment that we don't know what these guys are doing.
Yeah.
And, I know everybody likes to point to everything else, to Napster, to downloading, to, the change in the industry, blah, 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 blah. There are still artists out there that sell a lot of records. Adele. You know why Adele sells a lot of records?
You don't see her.
Really don't see her very much.
Exactly.
She comes out, she does her thing, she disappears.
The mystique.
Madonna.
Yeah.
Madonna can still sell a shitload of stuff. Now, she's obnoxious as hell on social media, but she only pops her head up when she's got something to promote. And then she disappears for a while.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she doesn't post now and again, but, you can tell that it's her people posting and not her.
Yeah.
Versus, but Adele is probably my favorite example of that. She came up from, I don't know where, in the social media age. She's not one of these people that is crazy about like crazy poster on social media. And she sells millions of records still in a time when no one sells millions of records.
Well, like you said, and she's not overexposed. And especially when it comes to live music.
Yeah.
Right. When someone's not overexposed, you just can't wait to see them live.
Right.
Because you never see them. You never hear from them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you see him every day on social media with their fucking face right there, giving a selfie next to
Yeah.
some musician, every time they go, I mean, it's like, yeah, we get it. You're a musician.
Right.
We know you know
Exactly.
all these people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, why do you got to all of a sudden shove it in people's faces? We
Yeah.
know, like you said. I don't know. I guess that we can go on about this all day, but it just once again goes back to the fact that getting back to the original question about music journalism.
Yeah.
I miss the days of the Malcolm Domes
Me
and
too.
the great magazines that would come out once a week where you waited all week to get that magazine or month or whatever how often it came out to get that news and to hear that read that interview. I mean, now it's just like you said, everything is overexposed where it's just like you said, there's no mystique anymore. You almost feel like these people now,
Yeah.
because you see them and hear about so much stuff that they're being and they're doing. That's like, well, okay, now I kind of know about them. All right, well, I've seen them. I know who they are now. I mean, you lose that mystique, that feeling of like, this is a special person that I don't have any access to, and that people shouldn't really have access to. And that's the thing.
Right. Exactly. Dude, I feel very fortunate that some of the absolute originators of the great content of metal have become friends. Guys like
Mhm.
Nalbandian, guys
Yep.
like Stranansky, Bill Hale,
Sure.
these guys, I know Lon Friend, from Rip,
Okay. Sure. Yeah. Mhm.
and Paul Gargano, and I
Mhm.
know quite a few of these guys. And man, that is such a privilege because that was that was such a cool era of
Mhm.
time. Not necessarily just the music. There people look at it and they'll say, well, the greatest music was the 80s because that's when Metallica released Master of Puppets and that's when Megadeth released, Peace Cells and
Mhm.
they look at that and they say that, but it was the whole package.
Mhm.
It was MTV. It was the music magazines. It was the cheap concert tickets. It was the fact that you could go see everyone. Dude, you could go see 10 shows of major bands in the 80s for the price of one Metallica show now.
Yeah, I know.
And
Mhm.
I did it. I saw Kiss for $12. Kiss in Black and Blue in 85. I
Mhm.
saw Metallica, I can't tell you how many times, for like $10. Iron Maiden, I saw an Iron Maiden Testament show for 2-for-1 tickets because they couldn't sell them for $10.
Wow.
$10 2-for-1s
Ooh.
to see Iron Maiden and Testament. I
Wow.
mean, dude, I got to see so many of these great shows, and I was part of that whole culture. I was reading these magazines. I was sucked into the culture. I was reading every word in the records. Everything was a culture. It's not a culture
It's not
anymore.
culture. That's a good point. Yep. Mhm.
It's just a random bunch of bands, bunch of dudes. I don't even want to say bands because half the time when you read about these bands, they're not bands. To me, a band is like a rubber band. It's all together, and no matter you can
Mhm.
stretch it a little bit, but it snaps back together. These guys aren't bands anymore. It's this guy lives in LA, this guy lives in Florida, this
Yeah,
guy lives in England, and they throw emails back and forth of wave files,
Mhm.
and they put their stamp on it.
That's it.
That's not a
Yep.
band.
I agree.
That's a project.
Mhm.
It's all projects now, and the
Yeah.
result is what you have. You have music that doesn't sell as well, music that's not as good. I mean, what album from a classic band, even a new band from the last 20 years would you say is a true classic in the same way that you would put Rust in Peace, Master of Puppets, Vulgar Display of Power, pick whatever band,
There-
Anthrax,
it- no, I mean, obviously, off the top of my head, and I really can't. Yeah, I really can't. I mean, I'm sure there is, obviously there's
there's
albums that I love that maybe were personal to me during a specific time because of a specific
sure
reason. But you're right, in terms of just a classic record from start to finish,
from the 2000s to now, that's 21 years.
it's been a long
And,
time.
and I mean, did Korn's debut, was that in the 2000s or the 90s?
'90s, exactly. Yeah.
Disturbed, was that the 2000s or the 90s?
Hmm.
And I wouldn't even say that's even a classic
No, I
classic.
wouldn't say it's
I
a
mean,
classic. No, yeah,
I
exactly. Yeah,
mean,
no.
Linkin Park's debut, was that in the 2000s?
I think that was in the 2000s. Yes.
I think younger people might say that.
Hmm. Yeah, that's considered a classic. Yep. For
You
younger
know,
people, absolutely.
I mean, there's nothing.
Yeah. No, and
Oh,
that's a great point. Yeah, with the whole, I mean, that's, that could be maybe our next Aftershocks Tremors topic
sure.
is really the modern day, we don't know modern day stuff, but the modern day band.
Yeah.
Because you're right, there isn't, and there's a lot of reasons. Like I said, we can do it in a whole nother hour now. But no, that is a great point. Though I mean, it really is. It's like you said, the camaraderie, that whole, like even just talking to these guys today, these Sonic guys.
Mhm.
You can see. I mean, I was going to make a comment about it at one point before he started talking more about it, but he was saying, we get together, we don't even really fight, we have all these agreements with each other. I mean, yeah, start going on the road, that's going to definitely change, right? I'll tell you
Sure.
that. But you said you could feel that they have that real connection, those two,
Mhm.
because they're in the same room. They are together in the same room doing the interview together.
Yeah.
Now it's just like, oh, you got to do that. Okay, yeah, I'll be on my phone. All right, yeah, I'll be on my phone,
Yeah.
and that's it. I mean, like you said, that the communication and just like you said, that bonding. That being physically present with each other.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with social media. That's the whole thing. You're not. You're just there communicating with text. Text has no emotion to it.
Right.
So that's why people might take it offense to it, where it's like, well, I didn't really mean to say that. Well, you did say this. Well, you didn't hear the tone of the person's voice or their body
Right.
language, you
Mhm.
know. So yeah, and like you said, that definitely does have an effect because, like you said, back then, in the heyday, it was all about the community. I love watching the old Iron Maiden at the what was the name of that place? The Chop House, I think, or the Rock House,
Oh yeah, the
and
chops.
yeah, in the UK, and these people used to go there with air guitars made out of cardboard boxes and
Right.
stuff, and they'd be DJs, and it was just this massive, place of just heavy metal being blasted over the loudspeaker,
Mhm.
people hanging out, drinking, having a good time.
Sure.
Simple and fun and very, like I said, just you can bond with people that way. You cannot
Sure.
bond with anybody through text and through. I mean, we've even just think about even the interviews we've done with these musicians. How many of these bands and musicians we've done a great interview with them? Oh, thanks, bro. This is great. Yeah, send me all the links, bro. Yeah, yeah, and they don't do nothing with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and that's right there. Not for nothing. We want to obviously promote our show.
Sure.
These guys want to promote their music. Okay, we're helping you promote your music to this over here. You're not helping us with shit
Yeah.
when you're not posting your stuff, and that's why guys like us, we've had a few people hit us back up. Hey, bro, can you help us out with this? No, crickets, because you didn't help us, and
Yeah.
that's what's about. It's a give take thing, not just let
Mhm.
me see what I can take from people. So
Right.
yeah,
No, you're
yeah,
right. And dude, going back to the being in the same room type of a thing for the
mhm.
musicians, I honestly believe that's why the music's not as good.
Yeah, I
Uh,
do. Yeah,
there was creativity in the fist fights in the studio. There was
yes,
creativity that came from that. As much as the bands will now tell these stories
hmm,
about they were in the studio and Blackie Lawless punched Chris Holmes in the
yeah,
mouth or whatever the story is, it's followed up by an album that just slayed
yeah,
because they were angry, they were pissed, and there was that emotion that got put into the playing and the singing and the
exactly.
writing and the changes in the songs. And they're all in the same room, so they had to fight for their part. They literally
Hmm.
had to fight for their part. Now you got one guy that's the band leader guy.
Hmm.
He collects all the MP3s.
Yep, that's it.
He sends it to the other guy that's the mix guy. He
Yeah.
mixes it all, and then the
Mhm.
leader guy goes, you know what, change this, auto tune this, maybe if you could pick up a guitar, throw in these notes instead, and
Mhm.
it's all fucking jumble fuck together.
And that's
it's
it. Yep.
it's not I'm not a huge giant fan of Guns N' Roses past Appetite for Destruction.
Same here. Mhm.
But Appetite for Destruction, which was clearly these guys recorded in a
Oh
room,
yeah.
there's an electricity off of that you hear every time. I've listened to that record 10 million times. I'm still not bored with it.
Yeah, I
It
know.
was that
That good.
electricity that they had. But it's not the songs. The songs are kind of average if you really listen to
I know what you mean.
Out to Get Me, Night Train. These are not breaking a barrier or a wall. It's that energy that they had. Five drunken, stoned lunatics fighting to make their music.
Sure.
That shit is gone now.
It's
It's
gone.
gone.
No, you're right. And using Guns N' Roses song, like think about Paradise City, the ending to that song. Okay, you couldn't put together something like that over the internet. You can't do it.
No,
You can't be.
no way.
You have to jam a bunch of times, figure out how that part is, and then do it in the studio. You cannot sit there and go, well, here's my part, my bass part. Okay, here's my drum part. No, when you come out with certain parts of a song like that, I love that ending and just the buildup of it.
Sure.
That is, like you said, that is put together in the studio. You cannot just put parts together and go, here you go. All right, we got a song. No.
Well, and just look at now. Now those same guys gave us Hard School and Absurd.
Yeah, I know.
So what is that? What changed? Same guys.
Yeah.
Same guys, but they recorded differently. Slash I recorded at some studio in LA and Duff in Seattle. And Axl probably had some leftovers from the 50 years he took to record the record in the first place, the Chinese Democracy.
Yeah.
These guys, they didn't get in a room and jam up some new tunes. They did their parts. And doing your parts leads to sterile. Those two songs are sterile and shit.
Oh, shitty. Yep.
These are the same guys that gave us Paradise City, gave us Welcome to the Jungle, gave us Night Train, gave us Out to Get Me. What changed is the way they do it. There's no energy anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. The energy level, that is a major factor. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're an hour in here. I think we've kind of done a justice here about, or how we feel about all this journalism and modern day stuff, as we're always talking about.
Well, let's just circle it back real quick to say rest in peace to Malcolm
Dome. Absolutely. Yep.
Was definitely an icon, and he's never going to get the credit he probably deserved, but he was any one of us that is aware of what he did certainly understands his accomplishments were huge for Malcolm. So,
yep. One of a kind. Just quickly too, just to think, his first book he wrote, Encyclopedia Metallica, 1981. Now that's the next debate. Did that name get stolen to name Metallica? It's right around the same time. Was that did Lars steal that, or what's? But I mean, it begs the question. Come on, I mean, you never heard the word Metallica, and here's a guy who put a book out in 1981 called Encyclopedia Metallica. Yeah. So makes you wonder. Wish Malcolm was around to talk about it, but we'll just have to.
We could ask Bob.
We could. You're right. You're right. I don't know if he'll give us a straight answer.
He won't give us a straight answer. He'll say, "Oh no, of course not." Lars actually had that phrase in August of '80, and Malcolm heard it at a house party.
Yeah. Well, no, I think Bob's smart to stay away from that topic. Is what he's smart to do. Because being that he is friends with both of them, and he was around that time. So, but yeah, it's just another little tidbit. Not only the guy coined the thrash metal term, but he also might have actually came up with the name Metallica. So, like I said, one of a kind. Rest in peace, Malcolm Dome. And hopefully there'll be another Malcolm Dome, which I don't think there will be, but hopefully we can get back to something in that, some sort of semblance of that sort of journalism that we grew up with, loved, and it was a big factor in why we got into this music to begin with.
Sure.
Because of all the buildup of the bands and pumping them up. And it was all positive. It was about their music and nothing to do with what they believed in, if they were vegan or if they were what political party they sided with. Just straight up music. That's it. So hopefully we get back to that. Doubt it, but hey, we'll try to do that here. Anyway, we'll do our part. All right, man. Awesome. See everyone next time.
Peace.